Hey guys, and welcome to Taylor Tech. Today we're going to take a look at the top 5 most common mistakes that newcomers to pro audio gear make when they are setting up a mixer or an audio interface. So we'll go through those 5 issues. We'll talk about what the mistake was and how to correct it, and how to appropriately do what people thought they were doing. So let's go ahead and dive into that, starting with number 1. So the first issue, and probably the most common one, is stereo to mono confusion. So a lot of times what people will do is they'll try and plug in a device into their mixer using something that takes a stereo jack and converts it from an 1/8 inch stereo to 1/4 inch stereo. So this is a 1/4 inch TRS. And they'll plug that into their smartphone or other device and try and run with it. Unfortunately, that doesn't work. What is actually happening here is a device like a cell phone actually is a stereo output. So it is 1/8 inch TRS, but it is stereo, it is not mono. And the 1/4 inch TRS in your mixer or audio interface is actually mono. It is not stereo. It's meant for a balanced output. So let's plug this in. I should have tested if my cable fit first. But I'm not a tester, I'm a doer. Let's plug this guy in and let's pull up a song. Got that queued up. All right, we're gonna put on the headphones so we can listen in. Okay, so what we're gonna do is make sure that's all the way down, not muted. Okay, we're gonna play this song, and this is Disfigure blank VIP. So let's play that. What you'll notice as this plays, see how the vocals are really muffled compared to the rest of the music. It just sounds hollow. It's really weird, right? And that's not anything wrong with the track. It's nothing wrong with the phone. What's actually happening is something called balance cancellation. So we're going to use an appropriate breakout cable, because really what we have here, we have 2 mono tracks that we're trying to play through one mono channel, and that doesn't work. So let's plug this guy in. Same track. Once YouTube catches up. Sounds great. All right, so why did that happen? The reason for that is what's called balance cancellation. What that means is that we're trying to put a stereo track into a mono track on both sides of the balanced signal. So generally speaking, when we plug a TRS connector into a mono channel on a mixer, we're expecting a hot, a cold, and ground. And we're actually seeing it as a hot, and a ground. And the balance cancellation circuitry basically does subtraction, so channel A minus B, to get the intended signal that you were trying to send. And when it does that, it says left channel minus right channel gets me my sound. The reason the vocals are what sound the most hollow is because generally vocals are panned to the center. They're on both left and right equally. And instruments will usually be panned a little bit one way or the other. So what you need to do to correct this is to appropriately be putting whatever you're wanting to play onto either a stereo channel, as we've done right here, or onto 2 mono channels, so that and pan them left and right. Okay, so number 2 is running out of headroom. This is something that can be really hard for beginners because this can happen at any point in the signal chain. Just because your mixer says that it's not clipping doesn't mean that your digital interface isn't clipping, or that the software that's recording your audio isn't clipping. So the example that I have for this is we can take this microphone and plug it in, and we can clip the software that's recording my voice right now without actually clipping the mixer. So when I tap on the mic, the mixer is not clipping, but the audio, as you probably could tell between the massive pounding in your ears there, is clipping really hard. And it's indicative of what can happen in a signal chain. Because you may think that you're fine and that you sound good if you're just monitoring directly on your mixer. If you're not monitoring your digital, you could be clipping at the digital level. The same thing can happen where you can clip within a single track, but not clip your main channel, or clip your main channel, but none of your other channels are clipping. So that's why each individual channel has its own clip light in addition to the clip lights on the main mix. This can be kind of hard to fix if you're not sure exactly where to start. First of all, if you're clipping digitally, you can usually reduce the input volume, or basically how much gain the digital signal is being given in the device. You could also reduce your analog side on your mixer or your interface. Bear in mind, though, that if you reduce the analog output, you're going to be reducing your dynamic range and creating a situation where you may have a little bit more noise. That's not always the end of the world, but clipping certainly can be the end of the world. Generally, it makes the most sense to reduce the level at the point that it's clipping. So if you've got a mix, you're mixing a live show, you've got 5 different things going, drum, 2 vocals, guitar, a bass, and your main channel's clipping, but none of your sub channels are clipping, go ahead and bring that main channel back just a little bit. If you don't want to lose too much volume, maybe pick whatever seems the loudest in the mix and bring it back just a little bit, and that'll help you prevent clipping. All right, number 3 is using phantom power when you don't need to. Now, certain types of microphones do need phantom power. Pretty much any condenser mic, including electric condensers like this Lav, need phantom power to function appropriately. But dynamic mics don't, generally speaking, and ribbon mics don't, and actually phantom power can damage ribbon mics. So let's go ahead and plug in our dynamic microphone and see what phantom power does both on and off. Now right now phantom power is on. Let's do this. Let's monitor this. Okay, so right now phantom power is on because I need it on for my Lav. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch phantom power off. We're going to give it a second. You hear the Lav going out, and now we're just getting the dynamic microphone. So let's mute the Lav. We're going to turn phantom power back on, and you're going to notice there's no change in the sound of the microphone as the phantom power comes back. It's just the microphone sounds what it sounds like, phantom power or not. This is true of almost every dynamic microphone. There are a few called active dynamic microphones that do require phantom power, but they're really an exception. You shouldn't worry about them. You'll know if you're buying one. Okay, so why is this? Why does phantom power not do anything for dynamic microphones? What phantom power actually is a DC current, a 48-volt DC current that is providing power to the condenser element in a condenser microphone. When you're talking about dynamic microphones, they don't need that direct current power, and your mixer is going to ignore it. The microphone's going to ignore it, and the mixer's going to ignore it if it's present, because what is actually generating your audio signal is not that direct current that is providing the phantom power, but the alternating current that is generated by the microphone. So the sound that you're actually hearing is the difference as the voltage goes up and down from the signal produced by the microphone. The direct current isn't going to change how much it goes up and down, so it's not going to change the sound at all. Generally speaking, phantom power is not going to color or influence the way something sounds. It's just either going to work or not work. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is plugging inputs into inserts. Now, this mixer has its inserts down here on the back, but there are a lot of them out there that have the inserts on the front just below the 1/4-inch input jack. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in a microphone. We're going to listen to what does it sound like when we have something plugged into the insert instead of into the input. Check, check. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. And as you can see, there's absolutely no signal whatsoever. The reason for that is, one, the insert occurs after the preamp. So the preamp is not providing any additional gain to the microphone. I'm just getting the microphone level signal, which is usually extremely low for dynamic mics. You also wouldn't get any phantom power out of the insert. It only comes out of the XLR jack. Let's do one more thing so we can demonstrate one more issue with inserts, because you may not be using a microphone into an insert. Maybe you're using something else like a media device to play music. So let's listen to what that sounds like. Now note, we're only hearing this out of the right ear, or the right side channel. The other channel is not being affected, and it's a lot quieter than it should be. So why is that happening? Essentially, an insert is a way of sticking something into the audio chain, exactly like the name implies. You're inserting something. What an insert actually is, we'll use, let's see, who are we going to use as an example? We use this guy as an example. So let's do this. So what an insert actually is inserting something into the audio chain. You are not, it's not an input. You're changing the flow path of the audio chain. So on an insert, instead of it being hot, cold, and ground, or hot, hot, and ground, you are actually sending with the tip, receiving a signal back with the ring, and grounding with the ground. This is very different than any other plug on the mixer. So what was happening when we were sending signal from our phone, we were trying to send something into the thing that was trying to send from the mixer. We were sending something on the receive ring, which was the right channel, and we had our ground. Usually what you'll do with an insert is you'll stick like a compressor or some other type of FX, if you have like something doing reverb or something like that, some sort of signal processor into the signal chain. Now, something to help you remember this, when you have a TRS connector, a tip ring sleeve connector, the ring alliterates what it actually does. The ring is the red connector on a breakout cable. It is also the right side of a stereo channel, and is what is received from a TRS insert. So the tip is the left channel. It is usually black, although sometimes it's white, and it is what sends. So there's no alliteration there, but just remember the other side and you'll know what you're doing with a breakout cable. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to look at is trying to use both an XLR and a 1/4-inch jack on the same channel. I've seen people try and do this and they get frustrated because the 1/4-inch jack seems like it's broken. It's not broken, it's just not intended to be used that way. So let's say that we've learned our lesson and we get a breakout cable and we're trying to put it into the left and the right on 2 channels, right? And we're going to pan it so that it sounds right. And then we're going to play our music. Our music plays beautifully. It's like, all right, now we want to add a mic to this mix because we want to be able to voice over our music because we're some kind of DJ or something. So we plug in our mic, we stick it in our first channel, and suddenly we're not getting music out of one side. It's just that right ear that we're getting music out of. The mic works fine. There's nothing wrong with the mic. The mic is great, but we're not getting any music out of that right side or out of that left side. That's because the XLR wins. This is something that seems like it's pretty basic, but I've seen it before and had to explain it to someone before, so I know it's an issue. The XLR always wins, and beyond that, even if the XLR didn't win, you could still have issues. So we were plugging a dynamic mic in, and I've got the gain all the way down because the 1/4-inch insert is at line level already. It doesn't need the preamp to do anything. But a dynamic mic, you need a lot of gain for that thing. So even if you were able to have both the 1/4-inch and the XLR jack work at the same time for the same channel, you're still likely to run into an issue of having 2 very disparate devices in terms of their gain requirements on the same channel and trying to feed gain to one or the other or both. And what this is going to do is it's going to cause you to run out of headroom on that one channel really fast. As you turn up the volume of the one thing, you're going to be turning down the volume on your phone, and all of a sudden, before you know, or other media playing device, and before you know it, suddenly that one device is going to be at just the most minimal volume level, and it's still way overpowering the channel when you're trying to get a microphone or something else to work on it. So not only does it not work because it's intentionally not working, it would be a bad idea if it did, because you would quickly be back to what we talked about in number 2 of running out of headroom. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then subscribe for more content like it in the future, and also hit that like button. If you've got questions or comments about what I just went over, please leave them for me in the comment section down below. I love chatting with y'all. If you'd like to support my channel, you can support it by using my Amazon affiliate link. I really appreciate when y'all do that. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. I fucking hate lavs.